The following podcast is created and sponsored by High Beam Ministry.
Hey, Frank.
Yeah?
I got a secret.
Really? I didn't think we had secrets between brothers.
Well, we don't, but this is a good one.
Really? Tell me what it is.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
I listen to the Truth Barista every week.
No. Are you kidding? What's the Truth Barista?
Well, it is where everything gets explained. I mean, here, let me give you my phone, and I'll open it here. Okay, here it is. Donuts. Oh, no, that's not it. Okay, I got it. Here it is.
Welcome to the Ersatz Coffee Shop. This is Jay, your Truth Barista, and I'm serving up a steamy cup of God's truth for the average Joe. You can catch me and this podcast on my websites, truthbarista.com, all one word, truthbarista.com, and highbeamministry.com. That's HIGHBEAM ministry.com, as in car high beam. We're shining the light of God's truth on the road ahead. Welcome to the Ersatz Coffee Shop. I am Maurice. I am your host. Can I seat you near the windows, or would you like to sit on our patio? Okay, follow me.
You know, my goodness.
What's going on? What's going on?
You know all that hamburger that you purchased, for the lunch rush?
Yeah?
Somebody, and I think I know who it was.
Let me guess. It was Maurice?
That's right. Put it in the front of the refrigerator.
No!
And we know that the front of the refrigerator isn't as cold as the back, so it's kind of spoiled.
Oh, no. Well, I can't really fault him because he knows that you put the meat in the refrigerator to keep it cold. What he doesn't know is what I know, because I did the same thing about a month ago because the dumb refrigerator is on the fritz, and so you have to put things in the back. So, I mean, he had the information. I had the wisdom, I guess, so, I guess you live and learn, right?
That's the way it happens in a lot of life, though. I mean, we get a lot of information all the time. I mean, look at the internet, lots of information. What we don't get, however, often on the internet is wisdom.
No kidding. I mean, all you and I have to do is at the break time, we just have to sit and go through Facebook or Instagram read through any number of articles. And man, there's a lot of information out there, but there isn't a lot of, if you want to say, wise guys out there, wise people out there.
Well, maybe we should talk about that. It's close to our break time. Why don't we kind of investigate what wisdom really is?
Okay, why don't you grab a couple cups? There, I'll get the carafe. Okay, come on, let's go. Okay, so I love these cushions that you got here. These are really
aren't they nice?
Yeah.
I know, I got them on an Overstock supply house on the internet.
Well, that was valuable information.
Well, it was information, and I used wisdom because I bought them.
Because you've had experience with them, and that's what we need to get at, because, we've been talking about this wisdom thing in the past. Well, wisdom is really an important thing. In fact, I think aside from salvation in Jesus, which is the most important gift that we have, wisdom, I think, is the second most important gift that God gives us.
Well, okay, so why is wisdom so important? I get it that everyone thinks they're wise. I do. I think everyone has a certain amount of, I'm pretty smart, and all of that. But that isn't really wisdom, is it?
Well, it depends. I mean, when you talk about somebody being smart, are you talking about smart as in the amount that they know, or is it the amount of information and they know what to do with it? See, that's the difference between the two.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay, what is wisdom? Now, knowledge is not the same as wisdom. Knowledge is information. This is the stuff that you and I see on the internet. We read owner's manuals for refrigerators, etc., etc. But wisdom is information applied. And over time, when you apply the information, you begin to learn how that information works in every given situation. So I know it's kind of technical, but it's the Maurice issue with the refrigerator. He knew that it's a place to keep our stuff cold, right? But I spoiled the meat a couple of weeks, or actually a couple of months ago, because I left it toward the front. It's got to move toward the back. And you don't put the lettuce in the back because it'll freeze. You have to keep it toward the front. That is wisdom that you gain by applying information with experience.
Well, I have a question for you, Truth Barista. Why don't we use the wisdom and get the refrigerator fixed?
Well, I think that is next on my, let me just write this down here. You're great. Let's talk about wisdom. In fact, I have a great quote here by a preacher named Spurgeon. You know him? You heard the name?
Yeah, he was an English guy a century or so ago.
Yeah, I've got it right here. And by the way, the book of wisdom is Proverbs. And Ecclesiastes is great too. And the reason they're so good is they were written by Solomon, reputed to be the most wise man on earth ever. So this is what Spurgeon said. Wisdom is the right use of knowledge. To know is not to be wise. Many men know a great deal and are all the greater fools for it. There is no fool so great a fool as a knowing fool. But to know how to use knowledge is to have wisdom. It's the same kind of feeling as common sense, right?
Common sense. Or I think he was describing some of our politicians in Washington.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's get back to this here. So if you were to summarize the Bible sages' teachings on wisdom, it would be this, that wisdom leads to success in life, but folly, the opposite of wisdom, leads to failure. And if you read Proverbs, you'll see. Now, have you ever read through Proverbs?
I have. In fact, I used to read through one proverb a day because there's 31 of them, and I get it that some months are only 30, but, one proverb a day.
Yep, and it's a great way of gaining wisdom. When I first got saved as a junior in high school, I would sit there and read my Bible while I was eating my cereal, and one of the books I would read was Proverbs, another one Psalms, and then some in the New Testament, because I was kind of bored with the Old Testament at the time. As I was going through Proverbs, I asked the Lord, I saw that wisdom was a valuable thing, and I said, Lord, would you please give me wisdom? And I would start to underline things in the text that would jump out at me that were really wise. Well, you look at that Bible today and almost everything in Proverbs is underlined. But many of those Proverbs now, even a few decades later, if you know what I mean, come back into my head in various situations, such as a soft answer turns away wrath. Or trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. That's from Proverbs chapter 3. Tremendous stuff. Ecclesiastes 10:2 has guided my voting because it says in Ecclesiastes 10:2, the heart of the wise leans to the right, the heart of the fool leans to the left. So there you go. I mean, I'm just saying.
Wow, now that is commentary, I'm telling you.
See, I'm just saying that's wisdom there, boy. Okay, anyway, let's bring it back. Remember when your dad came into the Ersatz Coffee Shop and we were starting to work out, build everything that was in here?
Yeah, I do. I remember he came in and he was shaking his head the whole time.
I know, because we're like flinging nails and screws around in here. And he says, no, do that and you'll save yourself a lot of work. Why? Because he had wisdom. We had knowledge. He had wisdom. And we built this place out beautifully thanks to your wise dad. So we really do need to really set our heart to find wisdom, but we have to realize it only comes to us over time and experience.
Well, sometimes I wonder about visionaries, because visionaries sometimes have knowledge of what they want to see happen, right? Mm-hmm. But it takes sometimes those that have wisdom in order to make it happen. In other words, they manage the vision into reality and into practical application. I've worked for visionaries in the past. You are not one of them, but I did. Not to say you're not a visionary.
I don't know if I should be insulted or not.
But I have worked for visionaries, and I'm telling you, it was a day-to-day, shiny object, woo, woo, woo. Yeah. And it was very difficult for us to get a good track record on where we were going.
Exactly. I like what Dear Abby had to say about wisdom, and I've got this one tucked in the Bible too here. Wisdom doesn't automatically come with old age. Nothing does except wrinkles. It's true, some wines improve with age, but only if the grapes were good in the first place. So I really encourage everybody who comes into the Ersatz Coffee Shop, all these students that are here, man, you're just starting out on life. Learn the Bible, read it, ask God for wisdom, and all that knowledge you're getting around the corner at Big Brain University, it starts getting pounded by the school of hard knocks and the hammers of life, and that knowledge can become intense wisdom, especially as it's rooted and grounded in God himself.
Well, one of the things I like about you, Truth Barista, that at the end of what we do here in our study, you always bring wisdom and application to what the information you brought, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Let's talk about the source of wisdom, okay? The source of wisdom is, who do you think?
Well, it has to be God.
You're right. And one of the coolest stories in the Bible is when you start getting into Solomon's life, who is the wisest man on earth, and he begins to reveal where he got this idea to ask for wisdom. Now, one night, he's spending time with God, and God actually shows up to him and says, I'll give you anything you want, Solomon. You're the next king, or you are king now because David has just died. What do you want? And Solomon could have asked for anything, but he goes, give me wisdom. And God says, good choice, my boy. And just because of that, I'm going to give you everything else that goes with it. Now, he did fail to follow some of his own wisdom, and in the end of his life, because of that, it shows you don't follow wisdom, you can spiral out of control, which is what he did. But right after he asks for wisdom, God says, you've got it. Now you have the dividing of the baby. Remember that one?
I do. Boy, that was wise.
Okay, so I would recommend that people go back into 1 Kings chapter 3, because this is what David says. Got it in my Bible here. He listened to the advice of his wise father, King David. Solomon said, when I was a boy in my father's house, still tender, and an only child of my mother, he taught me and said, meaning his father, lay hold of my words with all your heart. Keep my commands and you'll live. Get wisdom. Get understanding. Do not forget my words or swerve from them. Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Love her, and she'll watch over you. Wisdom is supreme. Therefore, get wisdom. Though it cost all you have, get understanding. That's from Proverbs 4, 3 through 7. And Solomon shows his budding wisdom. Like I said, right away he gets into that court decision regarding cutting a baby in half. It was brilliant.
You know, Truth Barista, I have some knowledge I need to tell you.
What's that?
Well, the fact that both of our cups are empty. So the wisdom
the wise
means,
thing to do would be what?
Well, I think the wise thing is that we just take a quick time out and we go fill our cups full of our coffee.
That sweet aroma, bold and beautiful, I can hardly wait to taste. Early morning, something wonderful is about to make my day. Hey, give me a good cup of coffee, give me a word that rocks me, a whole lot of Jesus and a little caffeine. You remind me waking up, the world that waits out the front door. Let it wait just a bit more, 'cause I need Jesus and a little caffeine. You remind me waking up.
Hi, this is Pastor Jay Christensen, your Truth Barista. I want to thank you for coming here to High Beam Ministry. And in this ministry, we have a plethora of great things for you to explore. Obviously, you're listening to this podcast, and we want to thank you for that. But hey, sidle on over to the other page and check out the Frothy Thoughts blog. And we have a new thing coming, a book. It's called Frothy Thoughts from Your Truth Barista, and it's the first cup. And we'll have more books coming throughout this year based on our blog. Plus, you're going to enjoy some new teachings we'll be posting on the feasts of the Lord and their prophetic significance with Jesus' first and second coming, and a wonderful video study on the book of Daniel. So those teachings will be coming up this year as well. So we want to invite you to contact us at highbeamministry@gmail.com if you have any questions. Love to answer them. But just keep coming back. Subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the articles. You'll be notified when new material drops. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, I feel so much wiser with a cup of coffee.
Tell you what, I think coffee is liquid wisdom or something like that. It's great. Okay, so anyway, we know what wisdom is, right? And we know the source is the Lord. So how should we pursue it? Well, go back to the top. Knowledge is good, but we need wisdom to successfully navigate through life. Let me put it this way. There's potholes in the road outside, right?
That's knowledge.
That's knowledge, right?
Got it.
How to get through there without blowing out your tire, bending the rim on your car, that's wisdom, right? So in the same way, life is full of a bunch of potholes, and we have to be able to have wisdom to be able to get through life. Here's some great scriptures from Proverbs. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay, first of all, Proverbs 2:12. Wisdom will save you from the ways of wicked men, from men whose words are perverse. Wisdom saves us from evil and wicked people. So think of this. Here's a bit of wisdom. If the sales pitch is too good to be true, it probably is, right?
Good point.
Many people have learned that. That's knowledge based on experience. And often we have to get burned to get wisdom. Sad to say. How much better we learn from the Lord's wisdom first and not get burned. Okay, Proverbs 4:6. Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you. Wisdom guards our ways. It protects us in how we go. Proverbs 8:12. Wisdom has companions. Do you know what wisdom's companions are?
Well, let's see. Companions, knowledge would be one of them. And discernment, discretion, what?
Okay, very good. That's what it says. I, wisdom, dwell together with prudence, and that's not a girl. Yeah, I possess knowledge and discretion. It's really funny. People who know stuff can kind of blurt it out. A wise person knows when to keep their mouth shut. And we don't always have to display all the knowledge that we have. Sometimes it's more prudent to keep that knowledge back.
So would you say that society is more or less motivated by knowledge than wisdom?
Absolutely. Look around. We are in the information age. How much better would it be if we were in the wisdom age? Right?
I guess I would agree with you. I see a lot of knowledge, but I know a lot of smart people that come in here and can spew forth facts and statistics and sound so smart, but at the end of the day, they really have no solutions.
Well, it's like the professor that comes in here often from Big Brain University. I mean, this guy's got the brain the size of a planet, right? You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, he comes in here and all of a sudden he's complaining about his car. Why? He ran it out of oil. Knowledge says you have to put oil in your car. So once again, knowledge isn't necessarily the thing that protects you. Wisdom is the thing that protects you. And prudence and discretion are companions. Okay, there's another companion to wisdom. Patience. It says in Proverbs 19:11 here, a man's wisdom gives him patience. It is to his glory to overlook an offense. Because knowledge is, I'm offended and he said this stuff about me. Wisdom says, it's not that important. Why? I've learned that over time. Certain things aren't worth a response and are worth just overlooking. It's not going to matter much to your life.
Well, and so many people today, Truth Barista, they just seem like there's the art of the argument, and they just want to argue about everything. And wisdom just says, not going there.
Exactly. I love watching talk shows, and I love listening to talk shows, but I like it when the argument has wisdom and the argument advances. If it's just two people trying to dump information on each other and the loudest wins or the most obnoxious wins, I turn off that channel instantaneously. And I go watch something that's a little bit more instructive.
Now, what starts with the letter C? Cookie starts with C. Let's think of other things that starts with C. Who cares about the other things? C is for cookie. That's good enough for me.
Okay, here's another one. Proverbs 24:3. Wisdom helps us build our lives and establish them firmly because Proverbs says, by wisdom a house is built and through understanding it is established. Let me ask you a question. Is he talking about a physical house?
No, I think he's talking about life.
And part of life. You're at a loss for words, I can see.
I am. Well, part of life is everything.
How about a family?
Oh, yeah.
Because it does say, Lord, you have established my house. He's not talking about his physical dwelling. He's talking about his family. I know a lot of young couples, when they first get married, they think they know everything, and they may have had great knowledge and information in their premarital counseling. But I'll tell you what, and you and I are both laughing about this right now, you give them about 25 years of good, solid ups and downs in marriage, and that knowledge has turned into wisdom.
Right, and that wisdom is, yes, dear. Yes, dear.
Whatever you say, dear. I love you, dear. Yes, that is wisdom.
It is wisdom.
That's right. Okay, so basically what I would do for everybody, especially the people in the booth listening next to us here, I would encourage you too, and I make this a practice in my life, besides reading through the whole Bible, really a good exercise is reading through the book of Proverbs, 1 chapter a day for every day of the month. And as you go through it, underline one proverb that jumps out at you because it makes it easy to remember that particular proverb, right? So read through that one chapter, underline the proverb, mull it over the whole day. In fact, to meditate in the Hebrew sense, in the Hebrew word for meditate, it means to like chew the cud. You kind of chew on that verse all day because various facets of that verse will come to you and start imparting wisdom to you as it applies itself to the knowledge that you've had in your life.
Wisdom, I think, Truth Barista, is also self-awareness. I think we're self-aware when we read the scriptures and then ask that question, where does this fit in my life? Or is this missing in my life? And that self-awareness, hopefully, will lead us along the path of wisdom, which says, okay, apply what it says to my life, and how do I do that?
And you know something? As Christians, I know we are not alone. Jesus said that he's going to go away. He said this at the last Passover, the Last Supper. He's going to go away, and if he goes away, he will send the helper to us. He's talking about the Holy Spirit. So really, God is not outside of us talking to us. He's on the inside talking to us. He is influencing our thoughts. He's influencing our emotions. He's influencing and adjusting our understanding. So if God is the source of wisdom, and we need wisdom, then every single predicament or every single question that we have the ability to think to the Holy Spirit inside of us, think our thoughts, and say, okay, Holy Spirit, I need some help in this area. How do I get from here to there? How do I deal with this situation? What would be the right procedure in settling this conflict between me and so-and-so? It could be something as, and I've used this one before, and it's kind of cool. I was working on my car, and the slider underneath the window in the door broke. And I don't know how to get the car panel off, so I got the information, and before I started, I seriously asked God, and I'm not kidding you, Lord, give me the wisdom to know what steps to take so I don't break anything. And right away it was like, I looked at the door and it was like, oh, that has to come off first. And then that, otherwise that's going to lever that and break that and whatever. It was amazing. It was like every step of the way to get into the door, get the arm back on the window, get the right part in place, and then put the panel back. I didn't have a mechanic's knowledge or wisdom, but it was amazing how, in that case, the Lord literally walked me through something seemingly as inconsequential as fixing a car. If he can do that with a car, how much more do we need that for life? To be able to drive from here to there and to have the windows up to protect us or the windows down to refresh us. We need that kind of wisdom in life all the time.
All the time. And I think after we're done here, you can apply that wisdom to that refrigerator, right?
I'll get to it right away. So here are some great verses that have always been with me. James 1-5. If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. Okay. Quiz time, Amazing Larry. What does that verse say to you? Let me read it again. If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him.
We need to be asking for wisdom all the time.
Constantly, right?
And in humility. Lord, I just don't have it.
Right. Okay, so he's the source, so that's why you ask God. What I like is he gives it generously.
So more than you need.
Yeah, you know something? I don't think that any wisdom is ever wasted, right? Unless you don't listen to it, right? But the other part I like, who gives generously without finding fault. Now, sometimes, as we've experienced in life with people who we really respect, right? Those authority figures in our life, we ask them for help or for wisdom, and they go, what are you, a moron? Why are you asking me? Okay, I'll help you with it this last time, and that's it. Right? That's finding fault. That's not helping. What I really like is this is a picture of a dad who says, you're right. You've never been through this before. You know how to use a circular saw. Let me show you how to use it wisely so A, you get the job done, and B, you don't do a job on your fingers, okay? And he does it lovingly like a father coaching a child through a process.
Well, I thought for the first part of my life, I thought my first name was Moron, but I found out that it wasn't, but go ahead.
That's an old comedy routine I've heard from a long time ago. Yep. The thing I like, too, is that verse, James 1:5 says, and it will be given to him. Isn't that a promise?
It is a promise.
Well, that goes right to Luke 11:9-10, where he says, so I say to you, ask, and it will be given to you. This is Jesus talking to his disciples. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. He who seeks finds. And to him who knocks, the door will be opened. God has promised us wisdom. And when we ask him, he'll grant us because he wants to give us what is good. And wisdom is good because wisdom helps us not just in our own lives, but wisdom helps us to work with the knowledge we have about God himself and how to apply that to our lives. That's the real benefit.
And I think wisdom is actually respected by those that are not even believers. If somebody is wise and comes with a wise solution or wise saying to a complex problem, we then will gain their respect.
So we were talking earlier about elders, right? We were kind of discussing our respective churches and whatever. And what was your comment about the elders?
Just information for the sake of information doesn't go anywhere.
Okay.
It's got to have application.
And in a church leadership function, Paul says, don't put in the young people. You go for the old people. Why? Because in those days, in the first century synagogue, the elders, the name for an elder was a zaken, Z-A-K-E-N as we'd write it today. It means a bearded one. You want the people who have the information of the Bible and information about life, but you want them to have them gone through the grist mill of experience, so you actually have some food, some flour on the other side that you can create into a food that feeds people to help them through life. Is that a good picture for you?
Oh, that's a great picture, and I think that's where every church board or a ministry board has to have some people of age on board.
And it really does apply to men and women too, right? Because sometimes women get an experience of looking at it from a woman's perspective. You know something? Some of those old ladies out there, they really know something. And Paul even says, older women teach the younger women. Here's a great example. In our own leadership today, in our Congress, we have some very young people who have very big mouths. And I listen to what they say, and I'm going, wow, that's some great information you have there. And wow, that's some great emotion and zeal you have there. And there is absolutely no wisdom to what you are saying. Because had you applied life to what you're saying, you would not be saying those things because you would know by wisdom they are unworkable. But sometimes with the young, you just have to let them crash and burn, and maybe they'll learn wisdom. You're the sadder but wiser person.
There you go. Now, you have a challenge as we bring this to a conclusion, Truth Barista, today for all of us. You're asking us to do something. What is it?
I'm asking everybody who's listening to get into the book of Proverbs and make that a special focus, maybe for the next month or so, or 2 or 3 months, because the more you read something, the more things jump out at you. Read through it. Again, write down that one verse, mull it over all day long, and watch how your wisdom increases. And before you do it, every day, say, Lord, expand my wisdom. Give me wisdom, because if he granted Solomon's request, he will certainly grant your request, because he's your heavenly Father, and he wants you to be successful in life, and wisdom is the way to success.
Well, here's wisdom, Truth Barista. All good things must come to an end.
Making excuses is a bad habit we all practice. It would be better for all of us if we practiced a no-excuse zone in our daily lives. It's easier to make excuses than it is to make things right. God makes no excuses when he says, he will never leave you nor forsake you. He's always just a prayer away. Thanks for joining us.
This is Jay, your Truth Barista. Thanks for listening to the Truth Barista podcast. The best way to find out when a new podcast drops is through RSS feed. Go to our website, look for the RSS button, press it, and then enter your email. You'll be notified when a new podcast drops. Thanks for listening.